Hello, and welcome to Complete Chiropractic Healthcare, the website of Dr. Greg Arnold. Today we're going to be discussing the arm injury prevention exam, making sure your throwing arm is what I call baseball strong. And what is really important to understand to start off is exactly when the arm is most stressed during the baseball throw. And if we look at this graph from a study done all the way back in 1983 by the American Sports Medicine Institute, we see the four phases of the throw. We see the wind-up, early cocking, late cocking, acceleration, and the follow-through phase. And the bars all represent levels of muscle contraction. And if we look all the way to the right during stage 4, during the follow-through, we see that that is when the shoulder undergoes the most contraction. And that's when the ball has been released and the arm has to slow down. It has to decelerate. After bringing all that power, all that energy, all that acceleration to the release point, the arm has to slow down pretty much within tenths of seconds. So that is what we're trying to aim for, is to see is the shoulder that we're testing strong enough to handle the follow-through phase of the throw. So this brings us to the exam. So why is this so important? What are we trying to really find out in the exam? And we're trying to measure the strength of the back of the shoulder versus the strength of the front of the shoulder. And we do this with special muscle testing software, and this produces what we call a strength ratio. And if the shoulder is equally strong in the front and the back, that's going to produce a 1.0 ratio. But most people, non-baseball players, most people will have a strength ratio less than 1.0. They usually have a weaker back shoulder. So say, for instance, if someone has a strength ratio of 0.8, that means that the back of the shoulder is 20% weaker than the front of the shoulder. So 80% as strong as the front of the shoulder. Now, if we have a stronger back shoulder, then the ratio will be greater than 1.0. If we have a strength ratio of 1.2, that means that the back of the shoulder is 20% stronger than the front of the shoulder. And as a baseball player, or just a thrower in general, or anybody that uses their shoulder in some kind of throwing motion, a volleyball player, a tennis player, a strong posterior shoulder is very, very, very important for a healthy shoulder. And this was done, so there was a study done in 2010 that looked at preseason strength measurements, where they actually did look at the strength ratios among baseball players. And what they found was that pitchers with a stronger back shoulder, meaning their arm was better able to handle the follow-through phase, they had the lowest risk of injury. And if you look down and to the right in the table, they had a 1.42 strength ratio, meaning the back of the shoulder was 42% stronger than the front of the shoulder. Meanwhile, pitchers with the weakest back shoulder had the highest risk of injury. And if you look to the bottom left, their ratio was much below 1.0 and was actually 0.724. So they were nearly 27% weaker in the back of the shoulder than they were in the front of the shoulder. So this is what I mean by baseball strong. We want to get each baseball player baseball strong, where we get the back of the shoulder to be stronger than the front of the shoulder. So how do we do this? We use a muscle strength testing software called by a company called JTech, and it's their Tracker Freedom muscle testing software. And in the picture, you can see a demonstration of someone getting a strength test of their biceps muscle. But it's a wireless tool that sends signals to the computer and measures the strength and also the flexibility. So if we take a look at a sample report, this is of one of my pitching students. For confidentiality's sake, we say his name is James S. And he was tested. His latest strength exam was on September 22nd, 2014. And if you take a look, his right shoulder produced a ratio of 1.06, meaning that his shoulder was 6% stronger in the back than in the front. Now, this was at the end of a season where he had played, 8 straight months of baseball. When we tested him in July, his strength ratio was 1.16. 6. So over the course of the baseball season, his arm got wear and tear and broke down muscle tissue, so he got weaker. He didn't have any injury. He was fortunate enough to have an injury-free year, but he did lose overall muscle balance in his shoulder. But this is a young man that I've been testing for over a year now. So when we tested him in December, he was initially 0.92. So we put him on a strength program to strengthen the back of the shoulder. And from December of 2013 to July of 2014, his strength ratio went up considerably. So he was much more ready to play this summer than most other kids. So we also talk about injury risk. The highest injury is 0.724. Lowest injury is 1.42. So he still has a ways to go, but he's definitely going in the right direction. We then go ahead and we measure total range of motion in both dominant and non-dominant shoulders, and that gives us an idea of where they stand flexibility-wise. And over the course of the season, we can see that James had a slight tightness in his right shoulder compared to his left shoulder, and this was due to a decrease in internal rotation. So we put James on a stretching program for the back of his shoulder, and then he's going to resume the strengthening program that we have him on to get his strength ratio back to where it should be. So what kind of strength testing are we talking about? We're talking about medicine ball deceleration training, and it's a type of training that we use to strengthen the back of the shoulder. It was pioneered by the National Pitching Association, and the basic premise is that if we can better train the arm to slow down, the arm will naturally speed up. A quote by Tom House, Dr. Tom House from the National Pitching Association: "The throwing arm will only accelerate as fast as it can decelerate." So if you have any more questions about the arm injury prevention exam, please feel free to give me a call. You can see my number on the screen. You can send me an email at pitchingdoc@msn.com, or please feel free to visit my website at www.pitchingdoc.com. Thank you very much.